Okay, it is, I'll call it 7:02. And we will call to order the Jamaica Select Board meeting for Monday, January 10th. And first item on the agenda is the call for any late additions. And as we discussed before, we will add in the vote on the town plan amendment. And I'm gonna put that in as item number 3, right after the minutes. That makes sense to everybody? Anybody else have anything else to add? Okay. Hearing none, then the next item is to approve the minutes from, it should be December 13th Select Board meeting. That was our last
So moved.
meeting.
Second.
Any discussions, additions, comments? No? Okay. All in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Sarah. Next item, we've just heard comments on the amendment of the Jamaica Town Plan amendments. And so I will read a motion here. I move to adopt the provisions of the 2017 Jamaica Town Plan with amendments as recommended by the Jamaica Planning Commission, specifically the documented title Jamaica Town Plan adopted by the Jamaica Select Board, November 13, 2017, with amendments recommended by the Jamaica Planning Commission, November 15th, 2021. This document is the same as contained in the Adobe PDF electronic document with the file name Jamaica Planning Commission Town Plan Amendment Recommendations, 11/15/21, final with maps.pdf. Do I hear a second? Second, Tom? Any further comments on that? All in favor of adopting the town plan as amended, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No. It's all in favor. Thank you, Planning Commission.
Thank you for your vote of confidence. May I say a word about what has to come next?
Sir?
With respect to the adopted plan. Now that you have acted to adopt the plan, Sarah will hand you around a signature page for your signatures. Those of you that voted yes should sign it, and there's a space for Sarah to certify that it was properly adopted. That is a first for Jamaica, and it's an important procedural step because it puts us ahead of the game in defending the plan against any legal challenge that might be mounted with respect to its validity. Once the plan is adopted, it takes effect immediately, but the town of Jamaica must, if we wish to have the plan approved by the Wyndham Regional Commission and to have them determine energy compatibility so that we can gain the substantial deference in Public Utility Commission hearings, we have to make that request, and the request has to come from the Select Board to the Regional Planning Commission. So, Greg, today I've had some conversations with John Bennett at the WRC about how best to do that, and based on his advice, I put together a letter with your signature on it to Chris Campany, the Executive Director of the WRC, requesting both approval and a determination of energy compliance. And I will send you, do you use Microsoft Outlook, Greg?
I do not, no.
You do not, okay.
But however you send it to me.
I'll send you the email.
I should.
Because it should go as an email message from you as the chairman of the Select Board, from your Select Board account to the Wyndham Regional Commission. So I'll send you a Word file of the text of the message and all the documents that have to be attached to it and the addresses that need to be filled in. And then I hope that you will fill it out and send it in your official capacity as the chairperson of the board.
Makes sense to me.
That will take care of the legal requirement to supply the Wyndham Regional Commission with an official copy of the adopted amended plan. In addition to that, we are required to submit a copy of the adopted amended plan to the State Department of Housing and Community Development. Sarah, I had email correspondence with you about filling in that once the signature page has been signed. Do you have the Adobe software? Are you able to just plug that signed page in place of the blank
I can try my
page?
best.
Well,
I have it, so if you need it, let me know.
I think I'm able to. I think I can re-up it so I can do the town report.
Okay.
Okay, well, you will have the signature page in your custody. Don't let it out of your custody, but you're the one who has the ability to scan it and turn it into a PDF file. If you can merge it into the document, that would be great. Otherwise, Jessica can do it, or I'm pretty sure that I could do it too if you're not able, Jessica.
Okay.
Somebody has to do that at some point within 30 days, and also before we make the request to the Wyndham Regional Commission, we have to create a PDF file of the adopted amended plan with the signature page included on it.
I can definitely do it.
Okay, Sarah,
And email it
if
to
you,
Sarah. If
Sarah, if you
she's
can't
having
do it easily, send it to Jessica.
trouble. Yeah.
Okay, I think I
And
can,
then,
like I said.
as soon as you have it, send it
If
to
you're having any
me.
trouble, let me know.
And once I get it from Sarah, I will then send it off to Greg with it, along with a package of stuff to create the message that will go to Chris Campbell at the Regional Commission. I will take care of submitting the required copy to the state, and I will put, Sarah, I will put your return address as a CC on that message so that you'll get the confirmation message.
Okay.
When we send documents electronically, we're required to show proof of receipt. I'm sure you and I have talked and pull our hair endlessly on that topic, but I think the state and the Wyndham Regional Commission, they're very good about quickly responding with the required proof. And if I put your return address as a CC on the message, you'll get it, and then you can just stick that into the file. That's the last step.
Perfect.
So Greg, I'll let you know as soon as I have the document with the signatures on it in PDF form. I'll send all that material to you for you to compose an email message and send it out to the WRC.
Okay, sounds good. So we'll sign it and then we'll give it to Jessica to put it together, or you want to start?
Yeah.
Yeah, Sarah has to scan the sign
And
page.
then if you struggle, then you go.
If I
Gotcha.
struggle, I'll send it to
Okay.
Jessica, yeah.
All right, super. Next item on the agenda, Chris asked to give an update on the Broadband Initiative and how it, and many other things, I guess, how it all ties together and where we're at with that kind of stuff. Take it away.
You have a copy of my crib sheet. It's a pretty lengthy report, so I wrote this down, but I hope you follow and get it quickly. Since the last time I talked, a lot more players have gotten themselves into the act. The first item is all of the agencies that are helping us, and they are helpful, believe it or not. One that looms large is the VCBB, or the Vermont Committee for Broadband. They're our technical boss. They're the agent of the Public Service Board. The Public Service Board's representative who oversees the VCBB is Mr. Rob Fish. Tom, you may remember, he's the guy who dealt with for the hotspot.
Yep. I remember Rob.
Our contract status is that we've signed the master service agreement. This is the overall agreement that has 4 statements of work underneath it for the different tasks. We've completed, we've signed and have executed the engineering design statement of work. The design process is in order. The top level design, which is the basic ring structure, and then the second level, which is arteries from the ring structure design. What's left is the service areas. These are the capillaries, the lines that go past everybody's home and what you get connected to. And that work has started. We're working a nearly finished internet service provider agreement, and we started work on the statement of work for the construction statement of work. All these, the contracts that we sign have to be approved by the VCBB and by extension the Public Service Board. And also any grant approvals have to be approved, and the statements of work have to be appendices to the grant applications. So their state is got pretty good control over what we do.
Right, but their participation thus far should ensure that, I mean, there was a lot of negotiation that went into those contracts. They're not gonna come back and be like, I don't like section 5.4, A3.
Oh, yes, they are.
Oh, they are?
Yeah, it's a very detailed negotiation. The VC, we have a lawyer, which
Right.
the Viber's hired.
Right.
The VCBB has just hired their lawyer, so we're getting a lot of, but this is
Do you
not
know who
bad.
BCBB
because,
hired? You don't know who they
It's
hired?
been it's being done in a positive spirit and
All right.
exactly defining who's going to do what, when, and for how much. Good contracts make good projects, so.
Sure, agreed entirely.
We're not complaining at all.
Okay.
And financially, we've received a 4.2 million pre-construction grant and applied it to the contract, so that work is fully funded. The construction grant we're working on is for $20 million. Well, that will cover, it won't fully cover construction, but it'll cover about, I'd say 2/3 of it. The VCBB will receive $100 million under the ARPA funding, which is addition to the CARES Act. We think that's going to result in another $10 million grant, but that remains to be seen. We have fingers crossed, exactly. Some bond funding may be necessary, though, especially if there's cost growth from supply chain issues or.
And would the bond funding be town by town, or would it be the
The
CUD?
whole
Okay,
the whole
okay.
DB fiber
All right.
would issue revenue bonds,
Okay,
and
okay.
then they'd have to be repaid from.
From revenue.
From revenue, yeah, exactly. It was a major coup, I think, in that we were able, the VCBB and the CUDA, which is our lobbying agent, jointly managed to pull off a pre-buy of the cable that we need for phase 1 and 2 of construction. They identified in stock, so we're not going to get held up by supply chain issues. This was purchased based on a letter of credit issued by the Vermont Community Fund, which is a nonprofit charity. The letters of credit were guaranteed by our phase 2 construction grant funds.
Okay.
So when the money's in the PSB's pocket, so it's not like anybody's at risk. But this lets us buy cable that we'll need at current prices. We're not going to experience construction delays waiting for it, which is, if anything screws us up, it's going to be construction delays and attendant cost overruns and always.
So the LOI was up to 20 million? It was that high, the LOI?
No. No, it'll be several million.
Okay.
But our share of the cable is 300 miles, including the heavy duty fiber that we need for the ring structure.
That's awesome.
And so, this is it's a great thing because we could have been held up otherwise. The main thing I want to bring to your attention is to talk about is the discretionary town ARPA funds that we're scheduled to get $307,000. Together, all of the towns in the DB fiber will get a total of $11,242,500 and change. The distribution is based on population, so. There was a webinar conducted by the Vermont League of Cities and Towns discussing the use of these funds, some of these funds, not all, some of these funds for broadband projects. The league and the PSB are urging towns to spend a portion on broadband funding, basically to avoid any necessity or as much necessity for bond funding as possible. And whatever bond funding we can avoid will result in lower subscription fees for all. So there's a motivation to do that. Types of uses that were suggested by the PSB are just an unconstrained grant, and if 25% of that grant could be used for pre-construction if needed, although we don't really need it. Letters of credit to purchase some long lead time electronics. We're going to have to buy a lot of home receivers and a lot of switching cabinet electronics and the earlier we can order these, the more likely we are to get them on time and within cost. Another category is to cover drop costs for homes, particularly underground conduits, which are required for trailer parks and or connections to the town buildings and the library and other institutions like that. The VLCT is urging towns to coordinate the use of their funds for broadband with the CUDs. These are just examples. The ARPA funds have been authorized, but they haven't been appropriated, so the rules for their use haven't been written yet.
Will the CUD make a specific recommendation to each town as to what they would hope we would allocate?
What we're trying to do, what we intend to do, is come up with a few options. I mean, if we got 24 different projects to coordinate, we lose our marbles. So we're going to come up with a couple of recommendations. And one that's most important is encouraging the towns to issue letters of credit to us so we can pull the same pre-buy off with for the electronics that we're going to need. And the letter of credits would work this way. The town would issue a letter of credit to the CUDs. The CUDs would collect them and pre-buy the equipment. The CUD would pledge its Phase 2 construction money grant, which the PSB has in pocket, so it's not like it's really at risk, to guarantee the letters of credit. Once the Phase 2 construction grant is received, we would release the letters of credit, so the funds would come back to the town for spending whatever other way you had in mind. And this has to happen pretty quickly if we're going to take advantage of it, and we expect it would be all over by June. There's so many things we don't know yet that we're making this up, on the fly. We don't know all the rules. One of the big things that might happen is that the VCBB would match whatever funds the town put up, although I don't know whether the private letters of credit.
I don't know. Yeah.
Well,
right.
the VCBB is trying very hard to do the right thing, get things to work, so I wouldn't rule it out.
Okay.
But in any event, what I'd like to do is come back with one of the members of our leadership. Once we know all the parameters exactly and basically can say, here's a letter, here's a sign here, and brief that part of it in detail. And unless you have something that you actually have to spend the money on yesterday, why it's it'd be a great way to help us avoid some possible cost overrun. The next topic is affordability. Our mission statement calls for internet access for all, regardless of whether you can afford it or not. And we don't know exactly how we're going to do that. What we intend to do and will do is get the cost as low as possible for everybody, so most people can afford it. But there are a lot of people who are going to have trouble paying the connection fees, and the FCC will provide a subsidy of $30 a month, but that's not going to cover everything. On the connection cost, the The connection, we think, is going to cost $1,600 per, cost us $1,600 per connection. We're going to charge $100 and make it up in the fees, because we think there are a lot of people that will be able to afford the monthly fee, but might have trouble with the $1,600. But there'll be some that can't afford it, period, no matter what you charge or don't charge.
Yes.
We're exploring options, the option of setting up a separate foundation which can accept donations and apply for grants to fund the people that really have difficulty affording anything at all. However, EC Fiber, which is the Exmoor CUD, has already established a similar foundation. They've got a very well organized computer-based system for qualifying households based on their, I guess, ASC index. Anyhow, this is the designation you need to receive Medicaid or food stamps or, any form of welfare. And based on that, they provide the level of subsidy needed. They are looking to, along with us, making this a statewide foundation rather than just CUD by CUD. This makes a lot of sense. I think it'd be a lot easier to get grants and donations if it was done on a statewide basis. And we'll be able to take advantage of an organization that's already in place, so we'll be able to get something up and running a whole lot sooner. But a new governance structure will be required. You guys will have to vote the same way you did about joining the CUD, I guess, as to whether we join the foundation. And it will require a representative, not me. I mean, this is not an engineering problem. It's
No.
So, the last topic is and it is related, is the money that's coming the state's way under the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, the IIJA. The VLCT gave a second webinar on all the grants that the IIJA is going to provide, some of which include broadband. There are 20 new federal grant programs, one of which, interestingly, provides for culvert replacement. A topic that
We've talked about that.
There's a grant for broadband equity, whatever that means, but I think it might be a good source for a statewide ECB to apply for grant money to support low-income families, and also internet training for people who are internet illiterate. There's money for road work. That's been plussed up. There's money for clean water programs, another topic that's near and dear to us, and for electrical grid resilience improvement. One project that occurs to me is there's a section of the electrical grid on West Windham Road that's in very bad shape and probably should be put underground. And there would be an opportunity to put the fiber optic cable in along with it, so you can get a twofer.
Hey, thanks for that. He's talking about me. That's why I don't join you via Zoom, is because of some especially rotten old Spanish-American War surplus utility cable that's burning around trees out there.
Isn't that GMP, or we don't, is it?
It's GMP and consolidated on the lines, but the lines were put in by the REA in the early 1940s, and they have been replaced, and they don't run along the road. This is a situation that it's not unique to the end of West London Road. It's just that
Right.
my family and I happen to be at the absolute bitter end of a completely outmoded,
Is-
totally useless phone line that just
Right.
will not support
But
internet.
can the town undertake that project? Can the town,
Well, we're encouraged to work with other towns, bordering towns, and
Okay.
part of this is in Wyndham. And, well, like they say, the rules for this are
Are being written.
vague. They're being written as we,
right,
so, who knows? There's another section, I might say, that could use some work, and that's on Wyndham Hill Road, which this goes past my house.
yes.
But I'm sure the town has other roads like that, segments of roads. that
Yes, there are.
Might profit from having both the cable and the fiber buried in the same conduit. Oh, the other point that that WLCP made was to urge the towns to seek IIJA funding instead of using their discretionary funding wherever possible. I mean, it's common sense, and it requires more work, for sure, but, you know, it will enable us to get the most bang for the buck out of the discretionary funding. I misunderstood, I guess, that we were on the verge of committing the funds to a gravel project, the discretionary funds, but
No.
I've been disabused of that notion.
Right.
But
Disabused.
That's actually, it's correct usage.
Right.
It means somebody
We're not
told
on
me was
the-
wrong.
Not on the verge, not on the verge.
although I do understand this is a long-term need. And it's very likely that there would be an IIJA grant
Grant for it.
that might fund that.
Yeah.
It might fund the culvert replacement or a number of other things. So the recommendation that I'm making is that you task the planning commission, well, decide or at least give us a list of potential uses and task us to research the IIJA grant landscape to see what we can come up with for possible grants to fund it.
Absolutely.
Yes, yes.
There's a lot of.
The list is there.
There's a big list and a lot of opportunity. You just have to get the lineup.
Greg, would you send a copy of the list as you and the other select boards have
I
informed?
think it's in a lot of heads right now.
Right.
Well, would you take it out of your head?
We should do a much more formal
And minutes of
process
meetings. Yeah, we should.
of sitting down and at least getting it down on paper.
I don't think we on the JPC really need a lot of formality. We just need the general idea, the things that are lurking around in your
Yeah,
mind.
it's a starting point.
Discussions with town employees and other select board members. Give us what you got, and so that we'll know where your thinking is coming from.
Yeah, yeah,
And then
yeah.
I'm sure the members of the planning commission probably have some of their own ideas about what should and
And
shouldn't be
probably
on the
some-
list.
And a lot of them overlap, I'm
Yeah,
sure.
The idea is that we might be able to do a sort, particularly with looking at what could be funded through other grant opportunities. One point that BLCT and others have made is that we need to analyze these grant funding opportunities so that we don't inadvertently spend a ARPA or EJA grant funds on projects that could be funded through other existing funded grant sources. It's supposed to be, those funds, federal funds are supposed to be unique, one-time only infrastructure investments. So we want to make the best possible use of them and not use them for projects that could be funded otherwise. And whatever the JPC is able to come up with will only be by way of, I would say right now, as far as best I know, it will be an informal, but hopefully research as best we can, recommendation to the select board. We don't have any authority to make that spending decisions, you folks do. But I think we might all benefit from putting our heads together collectively and coming up with the longest possible list, and then you can keep in mind the way your planning commission recommends that it be sorted.
Absolutely. Yep. Thanks.
Sorry, Chris, I preempted your discussion there, and I apologize for doing that inadvertently. Go back.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Really
Thank you.
helpful.
Great report, appreciate that.
Yeah, all right. Any? So the next item on the agenda, item number 4, I guess it's 5 now. I threw it out there, just an overall discussion of town meeting, deadlines, town reports. I know Sarah's pulling all this together. There's a draft version of the warning that's out there. Just this past week, not sure if the governor's signed off on it yet, but the legislature more or less approved just passing forward what they had done last year, allowing towns to either postpone town meetings or add in Australian ballot items and stuff like that. So I wanted to throw that out there just for a general discussion. My understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, we have until next meeting, the 24th,
To sign off on
to
that.
sign off on the motions or the articles. So we're not pushed to do that now. So this is more of a planning type thing of thought process. If we do meet or want to make any changes, we'd have until the next meeting to do that. But
Are we thinking about having the town meeting not at the town hall
think
and
it
rather have it
says.
at this
It's already at the
again?
garage.
Yeah, it's-
The garage.
did that
Again.
last year, right?
Yeah.
I'm asking, I mean, is that,
Oh,
We
yeah.
haven't decided
I'd like
anything
to
for
have
this
it
year.
there.
I mean, I'm asking,
No, I
has
mean-
a decision been made?
I don't think we,
It's in the warning for, that's about it.
well,
Or the draft.
the draft, it was in the draft only because
It
it
was
was,
in the draft,
it
yeah.
was forwarded. I think
Because I
there
copy and paste it
was
from
almost
last
like what I did with the agenda.
Okay. All
But I
right.
think that was out there, that one just got carried over. I mean, that's an
Okay.
option, but my thought is that we've got, that it's gonna be, I mean, I don't know, we could go down the road and say it's gonna be May 2nd again, but, you know, I think if we're gonna do it on our regular day, on March 1st, town garage is probably not gonna be the most,
A little cold.
it's gonna be cooler, probably maybe much more operational than it is the beginning of May with trucks in there and things like that.
Go ahead and snow that.
Get out of the way.
So that, I mean, that's a point. I think overall, I don't feel like our town is well suited for pushing things to Australian ballots. Unless we have to, we would have an item or so, but most of these items are better suited off the floor. So that's just my rough, unless we're hearing some other thoughts out there. I mean, obviously COVID's still a big thing, but
Right.
Is one of our budget meetings gonna sway that decision
The
maybe?
18th, so it's in between the.
But we'll be able to do that budget meeting before we do the
Yeah.
warning?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have another budget
Where do we
working.
have it?
Budget
Session
meeting
tomorrow.
is on, well, it's not tomorrow.
Tomorrow?
No, don't we have a working session tomorrow?
18th.
It's
Oh, I thought it was the 13th.
next Tuesday.
Oh, I
No, it's-
I think I put it on the wrong
Me
day.
too.
18th.
I
Yeah,
know,
it's
right?
I'm a week ahead of myself.
Yeah.
18th, 6 o'clock.
It's next Tuesday. So we have one more working meeting to
Next
kind of
Tuesday.
hash out the rest of the numbers before we formally
Okay.
present that, so.
I know.
I mean, the way I see it, and I'm not a clinician by any means, is we've seen a large uptick in COVID cases.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of prediction that they will go up,
Collapse.
and then by March,
Right,
everyone is
That's
is
where
gonna
the-
have it.
things are trending.
Yeah,
Right.
so I mean, that's a lot of prediction on that. Now, will that happen? I
Right.
don't know.
It's even other places that are ahead of us in the survey.
Right, so it
Right.
appears that
Right.
with Omicron, it
Right.
is up, and then it plateaus, and then it just crashes, because, you know, as Colchester High School said that 30% of the students had it. I said, okay, so if I'm the administrator, I let it go for 3 weeks, and then.
And then-
Not everybody got it, you know? But, you know, how do you regulate that? So, I mean, I think that's something we need to consider, is that this potentially could not be an issue come March. Or
Right.
there could be another variant comes in, and it's a greater issue.
Yeah, there's a new
In
variant.
March, or
Yeah,
fluona, what they call it, with the flu and corona.
Right, right. And then we almost,
What are they called?
some of those things we can't predict,
Fluona.
I guess. I mean, some of those things we're gonna have to react as they come. If they do-
Exactly.
If they do come. Yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean,
So recommendation, thoughts?
Wait,
My
I think
overall
we wait.
recommendation is,
Do we wanna- do we wanna
we
push it
still
out
have
a
2
month?
weeks
Right.
before our next meeting.
Yeah.
Right.
let's wait.
I'm leaning with what we know now that, I mean, my personal leaning is to keep everything the same.
It already
We've got 2
came
weeks.
in
Where? So
yesterday.
in the town hall?
It did.
In March?
Same meaning, like historically same, not last year. But that's just me. And let's wait, I mean, we've got 2 weeks. We don't have to decide.
Right.
Just, some of it was
Right.
discussion, some of it was the opportunity.
So
to
I
just get
agree with
thoughts
the
out there.
reticence to push out to May like we did last time, but I was like, maybe we could split the difference and do the town garage in April.
April could be.
Just, to me, the town hall in March is really, I think a lot of people are gonna feel
Oh, I
very
agree with
uncomfortable
her,
about that.
100%.
I'll feel uncomfortable with that,
Me
most
too.
likely. Because as to Tom's point, exactly, the prediction is that in March is when, you know, assuming there's not another variant, that's when we're gonna see the benefits of increased vaccination, Omicron burning out. So if you give yourself a cushion of about a month
No,
and you
yeah,
hold it in a
yeah.
location like the garage, that strikes me as, okay, we're giving ourselves the best shot.
Right.
March in the town hall
And there's no,
strikes me as
I mean,
not
we did it in
a
May, and a month before that.
Right.
I mean, I know there's some pressures to get everything bam before,
Right.
but if it's April, then it alleviates that, so that's a good
Right,
point.
right.
Yeah, yeah.
Just a thought.
I think it's gonna be more comfortable for people to come. That's the whole thing. You want to
Right.
have
Yeah,
participation.
and it is a bigger space, whether it's
Yeah.
well heated or not,
Right.
and it is warm in there.
It is warm, it's surprisingly warm,
Yeah.
I've been in there.
And we don't have to have the doors open, but you got
Exactly.
3 times the square footage.
You have all that, yeah.
Yep. Okay, there, discussion. Anything else? Any other comments? Okay, the next item is to approve the state road mileage certification. This is kind of standard procedure each year. This is just kind of telling the state that we have X number of miles of class 1, 2, 3, 4 roads. I don't actually have, it's in the
No,
basket.
It's in the basket.
It's in the
It might be
basket.
circling.
It's circling.
It's in the basket there somewhere, so,
Andy's got it.
I guess I'll make a motion that we certify the state
I'll
road,
second that.
the road mileage certification.
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Approve.
Say aye.
I don't think we have to sign that one, we just have to approve it, and I think you sign that one.
Okay,
We sign the listers, no
Got a
appeal.
couple things here.
yeah,
Letter.
yeah. All right, so the next item is to approve the lister's no appeal or suit pending certificate. This too is something that is done every year. The listers just say, in order, one more step toward, I guess certifying the grand list, or I don't know the right terminology, but one more step toward that is just to say that there's no outstanding suits or pending litigation toward any of our assessments.
Shall I make a motion? Make a
Sure.
motion- Make a motion to approve the lister's certification of no appeal or suits pending.
Second.
Thanks by Tom. Any further discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Nope. Okay, that's done too. Any other, we're on to public concerns. Any other public concerns? Charlie?
One really brief comment on, Greg, I think you and Sarah saw that email note that I sent you about the need to keep minutes of the budget meetings. And Sarah replied to me today that it was her understanding that budget meetings don't need minutes. And I think that that's incorrect. And I think that the open meeting law is very clear that you cannot assemble to discuss any town business without warning either a special or an emergency. An emergency meeting doesn't require a prior warning, but it does require minutes after the fact. But a budget meeting is, I've heard that the select board has viewed those as working sessions, and indeed you can hold a working session, but the open meeting law requires that you warn it as a special meeting, and anytime you meet to conduct town business of any sort, whether action is taken or not, you must keep simple minutes that meet the minimum requirements of the open meeting law. So Greg, if it's okay with you, I'll send you and Sarah a copy of the applicable sections of the open meeting law and highlight the section, because I think that that's just a misunderstanding.
I think it.
I don't believe there's any intent to do it wrong or to act improperly, but I think that the idea that somehow if it's only a working session, you don't have to have minutes is incorrect.
And it's probably just as simple as saying, discuss
Yes.
budget and no
Yes.
decision made. But
Yeah, the open meeting law is clear on that. There are only a few very basic things you absolutely have to include in the minutes. You have to include the names of all public officers present, the names of any members of the public present and participating, but that only applies to members of the public who choose to speak or submit written comments. If a person is there and is silent, you don't have to record that person's name. You must record any action taken, that is, any decision or vote. But beyond that, you don't have to go into great detail. You know, simply say that the board or the members present discuss the proposed FY, whatever it is, budget.
Okay.
You just need to they have to be warned as special meetings and to be consistent with the open meeting law, every meeting must have a set of minutes that meets the minimum requirements.
Okay,
So
yep.
I'll send you a
That makes
copy.
sense.
I'll send you a copy of the statute with the relevant sections highlighted.
That's easy enough. Thank you. Yeah. Any other public, anybody see a need for, oops, sorry.
Hi, I just wanted to thank Matthew Beck. He has recently retired and he dropped off many maps and surveys that are for the town of Jamaica. And he also gave us this beautiful thing I haven't filled yet. Right. And I just thought it was really awesome and really nice. And I just want to say thank you because it was really cool.
Yes.
Very
Yeah,
generous.
thank you.
Good luck, Matt. A lot of
Any,
work for us
Yes.
right.
over the years,
What about the lady
way
dancing?
before I was.
Yeah, I don't know.
Anybody raise
Any
their
other
hand?
public comments? Anybody on Zoom comments? Anything to add?
I'll make a motion to adjourn then.
Second the motion?
Okay. All in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We adjourn at 7:45.